Hi, I'm the Fantasy Guru. We've just come back from our first international break, and we've got a healthy set of statistics to obsessively analyze and read way too much into now. Isn't that comforting? We have players in red-hot form, players whose statistics indicate that even though they may not be scoring much now, they're bound to score points sooner or later. And we have players who've had their run halted by injury. Let's plan our assets for Game Week 5, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything this season. By the way, many of you will likely have used your wildcard this game week. It's a good time to use it, I think. But personally, I'll be holding to see how form has changed after the international break. It's a fine balance to not get left behind by players in form and mistakenly use your wildcard on the wrong players. But let's look at the players injured during the break that you should sell before the Game Week 5 deadline. Number 1. Last week, Manchester City centre-half Aymeric Laporte was stretchered off with a knee injury in the win over Brighton and Hove Albion, and has since undergone surgery. We weren't given a time frame on his return, but the type of damage and surgery he went through means he will most likely not feature again for Manchester City until at least 2020. This is a huge blow for the champions. Some people are even saying a title-deciding injury. Laporte is crucial for Pep Guardiola's squad, having started 34 games last season, more than any other outfield player for Manchester City. It's also tough news for the 5.2% of FPL managers who have him in their squads. He did seem to be the most reliable source of points in that Manchester City backline. Who's going to replace him? We'll get to that a bit later on, but sell Laporte ASAP. Number 2. The Manchester United website reported that right-back Aaron Wan-Bissaka had withdrawn from the England squad for the international friendlies due to a back injury, and he had returned back home for assessment. With fellow fullbacks Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot also injured, some people believe this was a convenient injury. But Solskjaer is hopeful that the 21-year-old will be available for United's home encounter with Leicester City, as will the 29.9% of managers who have him in their squad. Wan-Bissaka has the second highest ownership among defenders, which, by the way, I completely don't get. United have looked pretty shaky in defense so far. My recommendation is to sell. The upcoming clash between Wolves and Chelsea has us assessing two popular defensive options. Shrewd FPL managers have noticed the underlying numbers that Chelsea defender Emerson Palmieri is consistently posting up. For example, his total shots taken are right up there with traditionally recognized attacking defenders like Digne and Robertson. And he's already had 4 shots on target, more than any other defender this season. And he's also created 6 chances. But he limped off 8 minutes into the Italy-Finland game after chasing down Teemu Pukki, no less. He tweeted afterward in Italian, "Unfortunately, I had a small injury, but it's nothing serious." Horrible Italian accent? So, he might yet be fit for the game, but I wouldn't recommend bringing him in until we are sure. Meanwhile, Willy Boly of Wolves picked up a second yellow card in his last game against Everton, which means he's suspended for the next 2 game weeks. Sorry to the 6.4% of managers who have him in their squads. Right, let's talk players to bring in. If you're on a wildcard, or if you're taking a hit or using your free transfers, these players might just make the difference for you. Now, I'm not going to focus on the obvious players. Without a shadow of doubt, you absolutely must have at least 2 out of the 3 Manchester City attacking options, Aguero, Sterling and De Bruyne. Doesn't even really matter which 2 of those 3. Barring any terrible luck, all 3 of these will likely score big over the next few game weeks. Liverpool defense is also hot again. You should have at least one of the 3 options, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson and Van Dijk. And of course, Mo Salah is a no-brainer, but you could probably get away with having Mane instead of him too. But what about the not-so-obvious picks? Let's start with a replacement for Laporte and Manchester City defense coverage. While we can't claim to be able to predict Pep Roulette, it's a very good shout that Pep will likely build his team around a centre-back pairing of John Stones and Nicolas Otamendi. Stones is currently sidelined with a thigh injury, so the most obvious pick is Nicolas Otamendi. Last season, in the 17 competitive matches across all competitions that Laporte did not start in, Otamendi deputized as the left-sided centre-back in 13 of them, with Vincent Kompany picking up the remainder. Otamendi has started the last 3 games for the Citizens as well, even with Laporte fit and in the side, so Pep clearly trusts him in that position. In my opinion, Otamendi is now the most nailed defensive option for the Citizens, besides the keeper and maybe Kyle Walker. But a word of warning, defensive midfielder Fernandinho was brought in to finish the game in place of Laporte after his injury in central defense, and Pep has used Walker in that position before, so something to note. Arsenal's new big money signing Nicolas Pepe finally got his first attacking returns in the Gameweek 4 North London derby, getting an assist against Spurs. It was his second start for the Gunners, and the statistics are impressive. Against Spurs, in addition to the assist, he achieved 2 key passes and 6 shots, one of which was on target. His shooting was a little wild, but for the second week in a row, Pepe looked the most dangerous player on the pitch, and his blistering pace was in full effect. Pepe has had 12 shots on goal so far, with only Mount, Salah and Maddison having had more among midfielders. An incredible statistic considering he's only started half the number of games they have. At a price of 9.4 and ownership of only 3.7%, it's only a matter of time before the points start rolling in. And with Arsenal's fearsome-looking front line clearly capable of lots of goals, we can safely assume that Pepe will deliver the goods in due time. Arsenal's fixtures also look tasty, with Watford, Aston Villa and Bournemouth all coming up in the next 4 game weeks. If you're brave enough to take the punt, you might just score big. Finally, can I hear you say choo-choo? Yep, all aboard the Barnes train. Burnley striker Ashley Barnes has been one of the standout performers of the start of this season. He scored 4 goals in the first 3 matches, before a blank against Liverpool in the last game week. But upcoming games against Brighton, Norwich and Aston Villa are positively mouth-watering for the informed striker. He's had 15 shots on goal, 11 of which were from inside the penalty area, which is 3rd best among FPL forwards so far this season. His 8 shots on target are second only to the 11 of Teemu Pukki among all players. Basically, he's producing a shot every 21.7 minutes. His 11.6% ownership will be looking to see him continue this form. In fact, Barnes has form and fixtures on his side. Definitely someone worth bringing in, with his points per million sitting at 4.0, second among forwards. Right, that's it. All the best with your teams for Game Week 5. I'm wishing you all the points and the perfect captain choices. Which other players that aren't quite as obvious do you think are worth looking at? Drop a comment below or hit me up on Twitter at FPL Fantasy Guru. Thanks, Fantasy Guru signing out for now.